Hi, in this video, we're going to look at gRPC routing with the Cilium Gateway API. That's a new feature which has been introduced in Cilium 1.15. So first, gRPC, what is it? So to keep it short, it's a framework, it's a protocol to connect microservices together. It's a bi-directional, high-performance streaming protocol, and it's really designed to connect microservices over any programming language. And we've talked before about how Cilium can be used as a gateway API implementation. And by this, we mean it can route and load balance traffic into your Kubernetes cluster. And what Cilium 1.15 is adding is the ability to support gRPC routing, which means that we can route traffic for a specific gRPC service or a gRPC method to a specific backend of a particular port, and again, bringing gRPC traffic into your cluster. So why don't we take a look in a demo? So in the demo, we're going to be using a demo called the microservices demo, which you can find here on its GitHub page, has over 15,000 stars. And it's made up of a number of microservices that communicate with each other over gRPC. And the end result is an online boutique application where you can find different items. So you have all different products with their different prices. You can change the currency, and you can add all these different products into a shopping cart. Again, that's leveraging a set of microservices, as you can see here. Now, what we're going to be able to do in this demo is access some of these microservices that are listening over gRPC. So we're going to take a look at the currency and the product catalog. And we'll be an outside user, and we'll be essentially going through the front end to access these devices, these services. So for this demo, we're going to be using the latest Cilium Gateway API lab, which is the advanced gateway API use cases. And we, in one of the tasks in the lab, we look at gRPC routing. So I'm going to be going through the lab. It's super quick, and it's very simple. So first, we'll, I've got my Kubernetes cluster, and it's running Kubernetes 1.27, and Cilium has been installed, again, using the Gateway API, and we're running version 1.15. So first, we'll deploy the microservices application, and as you can see, it deploys a set of services and deployments and pods, which will take a couple of minutes to create. So while we're doing this, what we're going to be doing is download the proto file. Now, when you use gRPC, you need something called a proto file, which is like the specification or how the data is structured. Right? And that's what you need to be able to kind of contact and access one of the services listening over gRPC. The proto file is actually located here. So again, in the repo I was showing earlier, where you've got some of the services that have been defined, like the shopping cart, the product catalog, and the currency service, right? And it describes all the things you can get. For example, with the currency service, what you can do is you can do a get supported currency. That's kind of the method, and it will return the list of currency codes that are supported by this application. If you look at the product catalog service, if you look at the list products method, it will again display all the different products which follow the same format with the name of the product, the description, and the price in US dollar. So just again to give you a quick background about why I'm downloading this proto file here. Cool. So now that we've got the proto file, and I'm hoping that my application has been deployed. Let's have a look. All the pods are now running and healthy. What we're going to do is we're going to have to look at the what's new in Cilium 115, which is a gRPC support for gRPC root, which is a gateway API type of resource supported. So what we've got here is two gRPC roots. One is, so both roots are attached to the Cilium Gateway, which I deployed in the background. And what they do is, as we've seen before, we've got the services proto catalog service and the method list products. So we're looking out for this particular gRPC service and method. And when we see traffic coming and using those, we will send it to the proto catalog service and over port 3550. And same for the currency service. When we see a gRPC call to that service and to that method, we will send that traffic to the currency service Kubernetes service over port 7000. So let's have a quick look first. So you can see the product catalog service is listing over port 3550. And the currency service is listing over port 7000. So let's apply this. Those have been created. And we've also going to retrieve the gateway API. So we did deploy a gateway, which is a gateway of the type Cilium. And it has an IP address. We're just going to store the IP address 172.18.255.201. And now we're going to make a gRPC request to this backend. Now, for this, we're going to be using gRP curl, which is like the gRPC version of curl, right? And again, we're using the proto file to be able to access the service. So let's take a quick look here. At this command, we're using the proto definition that we've seen earlier, and we're making that call to the gateway IP address, which I just saved here. And we're making the gRPC call to currency service / get supported currencies. And again, it's going to match the service I highlighted in here. So what do we get? As we expect, when we make that call, we get a list of all the currency codes, right? So gRPC call has been successful. gRPC routing is working. We are able to access from outside the cluster into the cluster over gRPC. And if I do the same thing, but to access the product catalog, and using this, again, here it lists all the products, and some of them we saw in the online shop. Here you see the loafers, and the loafers are somewhere around here. Here we go. And you can see the price, you can see the category, picture, description, etc. So with Cilium as a gateway API, we've been able to access over gRPC resources, listening for gRPC traffic inside the Kubernetes cluster. And with, again, it's just using Cilium. We haven't needed to install an ingress controller or a service mesh or anything else to be able to do gateway API and traffic routing. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.